Ever get that feeling? Like a horror movie's hit a little too close to her. Today we're going deep on Ed Gein, the guy who inspired Hollywood's most messed up villains.
Yeah, we're talking Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Whoa.
All based on this one guy. We're going through his Wikipedia, a new biography, all that to see just how far this goes.
Okay, so picture it.
Yeah.
1950s, rural Wisconsin. Peaceful, right?
You'd think.
That's where we find Ed Gein. The handyman, kept to himself, lives in this farmhouse. That became infamous, to say the least.
But before the headlines, there was a childhood, and honestly, it's like someone took notes on how to make a horror villain.
No kidding. Gein's upbringing. Isolated doesn't even cut it. His mother, Augusta, she was really religious, but like her own version, you know. Believed women were practically devils. Sinful just by existing.
Intense.
Yeah. Just a kid stuck in this suffocating environment. Imagine hearing that day after day.
Talk about warping a worldview. The biography actually mentions how Augusta would read him these super graphic parts of the Old Testament, like death, sin, punishment, the whole 9 yards. Not exactly your bedtime stories.
So we've got this foundation of being alone, morbid interests, and then a controlling mother figure on top of it all.
Right. And as Gein gets older, he starts looking for even darker stuff. Books about cannibalism, Nazi atrocities.
Oh, no.
This is where it gets really unsettling. The book talks about his obsession with Ilse Koch, this Nazi concentration camp guard. She was infamous for making lampshades out of human skin.
Okay.
It's beyond creepy. It's like all these morbid stories, his upbringing, they built up this pressure cooker of darkness in his head.
And did it ever explode? In 1957, Bernice Worden, she owned the local hardware store. They find her body on Gein's property.
It wasn't even just the murder that got to people. It was the presentation.
Right.
The Wikipedia page, it describes how they found her. Hung upside down, dressed out like a deer. The mutilation, it was rough. Even for the investigators, they'd never seen anything like it.
And as if that wasn't bad enough, they searched the house.
And walk into, well, macabre takes on a whole new meaning after that.
I bet.
Just picture it. That house, the air is thick, you can smell the decay, and everywhere you look, something normal, twisted into something grotesque. Furniture covered in skin, bowls made from skulls. I mean, you read the descriptions and you almost can't believe it.
I read about the masks. He made masks out of faces. He even had a belt. Well, let's just say it was as awful as it sounds. What kind of mind even comes up with that?
That's the million-dollar question, right? What turns a seemingly normal handyman into that? Into someone crafting trophies from his victims? And the thing is, as messed up as all that is, as gruesome as those murders were, it might just be the beginning. Yeah, it's like we're talking confirmed murders. Yeah. As bad as that is, it might not even be all of it.
Like the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. Both the Wikipedia page, the biography, they go into these other missing people. Cases that, timeline-wise, the kind of person Gein was.
Yeah.
They FIT. But they could never actually connect him.
It's like those true crime things, right? The missing years, unknown victims. You start to think, what we know is probably nothing compared to.
Right. And for me, the one that gets me is Evelyn Hartley. 15 years old. Babysitting in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Just gone. The scene was a mess. Glasses broken, shoes everywhere, like signs of a struggle. It's the kind of case you don't forget.
And they think it's similar to what Gein did.
Oh, yeah. Timeline, location, the victim, it all lines up. But here's the thing. Gein, he passed a lie detector about it.
Wait, really?
Yeah. But then again, how much can you trust that? This is someone whose grasp on reality was... It makes you wonder, what's a lie even mean in a mind like that?
That's a thought. Like trying to use logic on a nightmare. It doesn't track. So you've got these maybe victims, questions with no answers. What about Gein himself, mentally? Wikipedia mentions schizophrenia. Was that part of it?
Schizophrenia, it's a whole thing unto itself. It can look like a lot of different things. But with Gein, it seems like it was this perfect storm, you know? That diagnosis, how messed up his attachment to his mother was, plus the morbid stuff he was into.
You mentioned his mother before. The biography goes into it. How intense that relationship was.
Oh, for sure. Remember what happened when Gein's brother said something about their mother? Anything even slightly negative about her, Gein took it as a personal attack. Even after she died, that room, untouched, like a shrine.
And this shrine, it's in the same house as everything else.
Mm-hmm.
The trophies, the skin furniture, it's hard to wrap your head around.
I think that's the key to it, though. It wasn't just grief. It was possession. That shrine to his mother, surrounded by all that. It's like this desperate but totally messed up attempt to deny she's gone and replace her with something just as disturbing.
So the WHY of it all? that's just as creepy as what he actually did. Like, he was building this whole twisted world in his head.
Where death didn't really mean anything, except maybe as a door to something worse. And that, I think, is where we get into Gein's legacy. As awful as all this was, it inspired some huge horror movies.
It's like the darkness from that farmhouse, it got out somehow into our collective nightmares, right? It's one thing to take inspiration, right?
Yeah.
But this is different. Like, he tapped into something primal.
No doubt about it. The biography, it connects the dots straight from Gein to Norman Bates, Psycho, that whole messed up mother thing. And then there's Leatherface.
Oh, yeah, Texas Chainsaw.
Guy wearing the skin masks, turning people into trophies like Gein, beat for beat. Even Slayer, the band, they had that song Dead Skin Mask.
Offense.
All about Gein. It's like he showed everyone what they were scared of deep down, and artists have been rishing on it ever since. See, that's the thing. Not some made-up story, not some boogeyman.
This was real.
Real person, real place. And you read about how people who knew him, neighbors and such, described him. Quiet, even helpful sometimes. Gives you chills, doesn't it? Like, what's lurking beneath the surface? Anyone could be.
Right. Like that saying, we're all one bad day away. But with him, it was like a lifetime of them. Mental illness, no one around, that upbringing.
Exactly. And trying to figure that out, that's what's so fascinating. So messed up what he did. But even so, you see those little glimpses of, I don't know, something human. There's this quote, it's from the Wikipedia page, stuck with me. They asked him during questioning, why he dug up bodies. And he just goes, they smelled too bad.
God. Like, it's just some common sense to him.
Shows you the inside of that mind.
Yeah.
No way to really understand it. So we've got all this, right? All these pieces. The life, the crimes. And the thing I keep coming back to is this. What if someone had noticed? Before it got so bad, could it have been different? It makes you think. Because the scariest stuff, it's not always hiding. Sometimes it's right out in the open and...
We just missed the signs.
Yeah. And that's Ed Gein in a nutshell. Disturbing, fascinating, and a story that sticks with you long after you hear it.
That does. And that, unfortunately, is all the time we have for this deep dive.